Hey guys, welcome back. So for this one, we are getting into Marvel Knights Punisher Issue 2, a chapter where the tension tightens, the violence escalates, and the world around Frank Castle gets even darker. This issue doesn't just push the story forward, it exposes the twisted machinery behind Miletto's empire, the corruption that fuels it, and the horrifying role Frank is being forced to play inside it. Alright, let's get into it. So we pick up right where we left off, and if you haven't seen my issue 1 breakdown, go watch that first because a lot of what's happening here is gonna land harder with that context. But just to catch you up real quick, Frank Castle has been captured by Armando Miletto, a Mexican drug lord, and through Miletto's signature Z drug, this experimental narcotic that basically strips a person of their identity, Frank has been reduced to something they're calling a zombie. A hollow obedient killing machine. Not Frank Castle, not the Punisher, just a weapon somebody else is holding. And that's where we open. The aftermath of the massacre from the last issue is still fresh in the air. Smoke hanging, Howard and his family killed, and Miletto's doctor, Rodney, comes pulling up in a small boat. He's shouting over the wind. "We're finished here. Everyone's dead. Back to the boat. We got a storm coming in," and they push off into the dark water as the sky cracks open above them. Frank is standing at the front of that boat, hollow-eyed, staring into nothing, and he mutters, "I am death. I am a zombie." And Rodney answers him, almost like he's proud of what he built. I know, I made you." He's telling Frank to his face that he owns him, and Frank doesn't even have the capacity to push back. That's the horror of this whole setup right there. Then the storm gets worse. The boat starts buckling like crazy. Rodney's fighting the wheel, screaming for Frank to hang on. And then a wall of water just slams them. The boat flips. Everything goes black. And this is where the comic does something really clever, because instead of just cutting to the next scene, we get this internal narration that follows Frank as he drags down into the undertow. The drug has hollowed him out, stripping away who he once was. Yet fragments flicker, ghosts of memories, refusing to drown with him. And I love this because it's the first real indication that somewhere deep down, Frank Castle is still in there. The drug didn't erase him completely, it just buried him. And that's honestly scarier in a way, because you realize he's conscious enough to suffer, but not conscious enough to fight back. It's like that scene in Inception where Cobb's trapped in his own dream and he knows something's wrong but he can't quite pull himself out. That in-between space where you're aware but helpless. Rodney pulls Frank back onto the boat, thinking he nearly lost him, and Frank's eyes start to sharpen. Something breaks through the fog. He looks up and says, "You, Miletto." And Rodney immediately freezes, because he knows what that means. Frank is coming back. So what does he do? He grabs the Z-drug spray and blasts Frank right in the face. Frank snarls, "You're all going to die." And then, just like that, the fury drains out of him, replaced by that empty, obedient calm. Rodney exhales and says, "Not today, my friend, not today." And that's chilling because Rodney ain't even a bad guy in the traditional sense. He's just a doctor caught up in something way out of pocket. But in that moment, he makes the choice to keep Frank caged. That's on him. Now we jump back 1 week ago to FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. And this is where we get introduced to a new player who is hella entertaining right out the gate. His name is Everett K. Ross. And if that name sounds familiar, that's because this is the same Everett Ross from the Black Panther comics, the diplomat, the government liaison guy. And seeing him here in this context is a great little surprise because he comes walking into FBI headquarters dripping with this bureaucratic impatience, tells the receptionist he has an appointment with the man in charge of special operations, and she doesn't even look up before correcting him. "You mean Agent K? The woman in charge?" Everett just shrugs. "Sure, whatever." So he gets brought into a briefing room and introduced to Agent Sass. And behind a two-way mirror, Agent K is watching him, asking if that's really the guy they chose. The other agent tells her he's the best they could find on short notice, someone disposable who speaks fluent Spanish. And Kay reads through Everett's file: State Department background, Wakanda Embassy liaison, language analyst. She closes the folder and goes, "Well, Sass, you nailed it. This guy's as expendable as they come." And that's cold, but also kind of funny, because Everett has no idea he's being described like a burner phone right now. Then Director Hammer walks in with some bad news. Howard Perez and his entire family were just killed in Cancun. The assassin, El Zombie. And this hits Kay in a very personal way, because Howard was working as an informant for them, and Kay was the godmother of his little girl. That detail reframes this whole mission immediately. This isn't just a drug operation for her. This is personal. Very personal. And she wastes no time. She wants Everett fast-tracked into Moleto's operation in Mexico. So she goes into the briefing room and lays it all out for Everett. Deep cover. Zero contact. Surveillance only. She tells him, from this point on, Everett Ross is dead. You're a ghost. Can you live with that? And he asks for 24 hours to decide. She gives it to him. 6 hours later, he's back. I'm in. And he's honest about why. I'm ready to be someone else. Long, boring story. Which tells you there's some personal baggage Everett's carrying that we probably ain't heard the last of. Then begins the makeover montage. Everett gets hit with a bunch of vaccines he's never had. He is not down with needles, by the way, and then they take him to a tattoo parlor and start giving him ink that's gonna last, quote, centuries. He winces through the whole thing asking how long they last, and Sass just goes, centuries, but relax, we have a laser that removes them. Painful, but effective. So either way, Everett is cooked. Then they dye his hair and load him up with drug education books and give him a new identity. His cover is airtight by the time they're done. He's going in as someone else entirely. Now we cut south of the border, and this is where things get genuinely grim. A man named Berto is on his knees in the dirt in front of Moleto. He stole from the cartel, and before you assume the worst of Berto, the reason comes out fast. His son was sick and he didn't have money for the operation. Moleto's reaction? Cold, dismissive. He basically tells Berto to give up on his son. And here's where Fernanda comes in, Moleto's wife. And she is legit the most layered character in this whole issue, because she goes to bat for Berto immediately and tells him to come to them next time. She negotiates Berto's life, and Moleto actually listens. But here's the thing, he doesn't spare Berto out of mercy. He spares him because Fernanda frames it as a business decision. Loyalty works better than fear, she says. And Moleto's response? He accepts the logic but refuses to let it go completely without a consequence. He turns to a zombie, Frank, blank-eyed and obedient, and just says, Frank, break his legs. And Frank does it, without hesitation, while Fernanda screams, while Berto's wife Maria cries out, Berto. The cracks echo through the compound, and it's brutal. And what makes it worse is Moleto turns to Fernanda afterward and says, you did your good deed. I let him live. Now let me do my work. Later, Fernanda confronts him. She can't take it anymore. Having Frank in their home every day, walking around alive after killing their son, it's destroying her. And Moleto's response is chilling in a different way. So enjoy watching him suffer like I do. He's not keeping Frank alive to punish him efficiently. He's keeping him alive because it makes Moleto happy. Moleto heads to Miami and tells Rodney to put Frank back in the basement. And then we get to midnight. Fernanda goes down to the basement herself. Fernanda ain't going down there to check on Frank. She's going down there with a plan. She approaches the original El Zombie's cage and wakes him up, and in his drugged state starts mumbling, "Please, Miss Molero, I have a wife, 2 children, I haven't seen them," and she just sprays him with the Z drug, cuts him off mid-sentence, and then she unlocks his cell and tells him to destroy the monster who killed her son, meaning Frank, the other El Zombie. So she's using a mind-controlled zombie to kill Frank, and it almost works. A zombie is beating Frank down, close to finishing it, until Frank's eyes flicker. Consciousness comes back. He surges up, reverses the fight, and snaps a zombie's neck. And when he turns to Fernanda, she's already got the spray ready. Hits him with it. "You know nothing. You are no one. Go back to sleep, killer." And Frank's voice just dulls back to the monotone, "I am death. I am El Zombie." Fernanda looks at the body and sighs. "Shame you killed him. He was about to see his family." And then a janitor steps out. Fernanda startles. She asks who he is, and the man answers, "I'm Mateo Medina, here to clean." And the panel stays on him just long enough for us to realize that's Everett Ross, in full disguise. He's already inside Molero's compound, already watching, already in the thick of it. And as Fernanda leaves and Everett turns towards Frank's cell, his eyes go wide. What the hell? Is that? It can't be. Can it? Cut to Miami. Molero's getting a call that El Zombie has been found dead. Neck snapped. He's furious, demanding answers. Rodney assures him Frank is still under the drug, still obedient, just a cell door mishap. And Molero straightens his jacket, pockets the phone, and smirks. And how's my favorite government agent these days? He walks inside. And sitting there, cool as ice, is Agent K. "Armando, come in. Get comfortable. We have some catching up to do." And that, my friends, is where this issue leaves us. This issue is doing a lot of heavy lifting in terms of setup, but it earns every page of it, because you've got Frank Castle being stripped of everything that makes him who he is. You've got Everett already inside the enemy's walls. You've got Agent K going face to face with Molero, which tells you these two have history. And you've got Fernanda, who is simultaneously the most sympathetic and most dangerous person in this whole story. She's grieving, she's desperate, and she's willing to weaponize a broken man to get what she wants. That's compelling storytelling. The theme running through this whole issue is control. Who has it, who's lost it, and what people are willing to do to get it back. Molero controls Frank. The Z drug controls Frank. Fernanda tries to control the situation. Kay is trying to control the investigation. And somewhere at the bottom of all of it, Frank Castle is fighting to remember that he was someone. And that someone is still fighting. I'm hella curious to see where this goes in issue 3, because Everett is now sitting on the most explosive piece of intel in the entire operation. And the question is, what does he do with it? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss issue 3. That'll do it for now. Catch you on the next one. Later.